committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I am Ryan Broom with the Tuesday, October 10th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story, as local law enforcement officers continue to tackle gun-related and other serious crimes, a new study on national values shows that Barbadians are very concerned about violence in the society. The results were shared by Dr. Karen Lord, a research associate with the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies, or SALIS's. SALIS's recently conducted a national values assessment entitled Barbados at 50. She said one area of the wide-ranging survey, which sought the opinions of more than 1,200 Barbadians, related to what is creeping into Barbadian society that needs to be halted.
Violence, once more, broad agreement on that. Crime and gangs, drugs and substance abuse. So there, the focus veered away a little bit from alcohol and was squarely placed on drugs for this particular question. Guns, American culture, materialism, rejection of hard work, and maybe part and parcel of this, laid-backness or entitlement.
And Dr. Lord says one research question also related to one of the values that has not been lost but needs to be discarded by Barbadians as quickly as possible.
I think this was one of the responses that was the most unambiguous. Violence, crime, domestic violence. There was huge agreement with that all across the board. Intolerance, adoption of other cultures. This was an interesting comment because they also included as good things to keep hospitality and friendliness, but there's still a kind of a line there where they are saying, people are saying, we do not want to be too eager to adopt other practices, to adopt other cultures, because we do have our own culture which is to be celebrated and to be lived.
And in some crime-related news now, lawmen say a man is currently assisting them with investigations into the seizure of 4 firearms, including 2 high-powered weapons, a quantity of ammunition, a quantity of cocaine and cannabis, a sum of money and body armor, popularly known as a bulletproof vest. The seizure was made yesterday, October 9th, during an operation spearheaded by members of the anti-gun unit. The items were all seized at Halls Road, St. Michael, and the haul reportedly contained 2 AK-47 weapons. In other news, the Speaker of the House is against making crime a political issue. For Michael Carrington, he says he made his feelings known when the ruling party used it as a platform during its election campaign in the 1990s. He suggests a crime and violence situation is a reflection of society.
You can't just pretend that there's this issue with crime and violence and it does not concern me, it concerns the government. It does not concern you, it concerns the opposition. As far as I'm concerned, this thing concerns each and every one of us. And it really speaks to, in my humble opinion, a breakdown of certain societal values.
An increasing number of first-timers being admitted to the psychiatric hospital has officials concerned. Acting Director David Leacock says while the annual intake remains relatively stable, they have noticed a worrying trend of more new faces.
What we have seen is an uptake in our first-time admissions. So, for example, let's say in any given year we have 1,000 persons coming into the hospital to be admitted. Over the last few years, instead of let's say there being 100 new persons, maybe 150, 175. So that for us is a bit worrying because we want to make sure that we're not only keeping those that we managed to treat before outside, but preventing those persons who have challenges from being admitted to hospital.
And Mr. Leacock also spoke about the more prevalent mental illnesses causing people to turn to the institution.
Some of our persons that are coming to us often are some probably older persons who are having, let's say, dementia issues or Alzheimer-related type illnesses. So that is a concern not only for us but also other agencies that relate to those particular persons as well. the issue as far as, let's say, stress and those things being the major factors for persons coming in. If persons take it to what it's saying, anything that brings you to this point, I guess, can be deemed a stressor. But as far as, let's say, mental health issues are concerned, we're not seeing a vast difference as far as the persons who are coming to us and why they're coming to us. The same illnesses that they've had before, we are still seeing. But as I said, we are seeing, let's say, an increase in those older illnesses such as dementia and Alzheimer's.
In other news, with research showing children as young as 7 years old are introduced to illegal drugs, a program designed to help youngsters stay away is making a difference. It's Project SOFT, a one-year program organized by the National Council on Substance Abuse, or NCSA. The program focuses on children transitioning from primary to secondary school. That change can make them feel stressed and vulnerable, thereby more susceptible to drug use. That's according to NCSA Community Program Officer Makeda Bourne.
So the program, Project Solve, then is one of our programs that look at those transitions that show the children that as you are entering a new phase in your life, you do not have to use a drug to feel you have to cope, but there are other methodologies, positive methodologies, healthy methodologies that they can use to cope. Our research, as well as other research done in Barbados, has shown that young people are being exposed to drugs as early as 7 and 8 years old. And that is one of the other reasons that we ensure that this program continues. This is our 15th year, as I say, so we're ensuring that programs like these continue to help us fulfill our mandate at the National Council on Substance Abuse.
Ms. Bourne made the point as she welcomed sponsorship from the Insurance Corporation of Barbados Limited. ICBL's Senior Vice President, Henry Innes, praised the program and stressed its importance.
Many lives can be shattered if intervention of this type is not made at the right time. So from ICBL's perspective, we have a vested interest, of course, in ensuring that, or encouraging persons to remain healthy and to, to avoid the use of illegal drugs or the misuse of legal drugs.
And some of the children also shared what they took away from the program and intend to tell their friends.
I would just encourage them not to use drugs because it can have a permanent bad impact on you.
Drugs can have a permanent effect on you if you start to use them early. It might be hard to quit, so you can drive yourself to doing things that might get you in trouble with the law. So it's best to stay away from drugs at all costs.
We take a pause here, but we'll have more news after the break.
This kitchen needs painting.
Why not the whole house?
We hitting the jackpot at Berger Paints.
Enter to win free paint in one of 7 prizes in the Ansi McCall Lucky 7 jackpot worth $140,000. Just spend $100 at Brighton Stokes, Brighton's Express and Stationery, Brighton's Insurance Standard, MQI, Berger Paints, or Consolidated Finance. Enter your code online at www.ansilucky7jackpot.com for your chance to win. See website for full details.
It's unimaginable. The eyes, it just can't explain. But you can see the law is still in control. There's order, you know what I'm saying? So I need your help, man.
The Salvation Army Barbados Division takes this time to appeal to all Barbadians to support this effort to help our Caribbean brothers and sisters in Dominica, who are desperately in need of the following items: canned foods and other non-perishable foods, bottled water, Pampers, children and adults, children educational material, bed cots. These items can be donated to the Salvation Army at their other institutions across Barbados, or call 426-2467 or 228-1361. and arrangements will be made to collect these donations. Please note no clothing necessary. We also welcome any monetary donations to this effort through our local account at Scotiabank, account number 000-901-9858, the Salvation Army Appeal.
Welcome back. Well, Education Minister Ronald Jones is challenging teachers to use information communication technology more often in the classroom. If utilized, he says technology will allow teachers to use different modes of delivery to cater to the varied learning styles of their students. He is also confident that teachers will be able to conduct assessments more quickly.
I am burdened that we are not as effective in the use of the technologies as we should. Policymakers say, we're going to create all of these things. We're going to give you a good classroom with good technology and all of that. But yet we fear. We have to remove the fears and embed ourselves in the use. Because that's what children are using now. We're still testing students by paper tests that you might take 3 weeks to correct. Today's child does not exist in that environment.
The Education Minister was speaking at the launch of the School Teacher Effectiveness Plans in Project Schools, or STEPS program. It was also announced that the Erdeston Teachers Training College will be offering continuous education programs for 500 teachers and principals as part of the project.
During the first academic year, September to July 2018, approximately 167 teachers and principals at the primary level will access the workshops. And again, during the second academic year, September 2018 to July 2019, another 167 more principals and teachers at the primary level will access the workshops. And this approach will continue for the next academic year until all 500 of the teachers targeted have attended the workshops.
In more education-related news, the principal of the University of the West Indies Cayfield campus wants the threshold for government assistance to students raised. Not only that, but Professor Udine Barreto also wants the process to access that funding made easier, noting that under current conditions, higher education could become a luxury that only the elite can afford. Professor Barreto says some parents now face the choice of choosing which child they can afford to send to university. She adds that the threshold of a family earning a maximum of $2,500 annually to qualify is not good enough.
And last year I wrote to the government and asked them to raise the ceiling of the grant to $35,000. And I'm waiting to get that response, because I really think that if it moves to 35,000, more persons will in fact be eligible. Again, we are very grateful for all the students who are assisted through that grant, but we would like to see another category, the ones who fall between $25,000 and $1 to $35,000. We would like to see them included.
Professor Barreto, who is also Pro-Vice Chancellor of the campus, thinks the process to determine qualification is too cumbersome.
We would also like to see that some of the measures that are put in place to have the students qualify. For instance, sometimes you have to bring utility bills and so on, and that the whole process is facilitated and made easier so that students can get the assistance they receive.
Professor Barreto is also appealing to non-governmental organizations, the business community, and even former students to intensify their efforts to help current students afford their university education. And in other news, the quality of technical and vocational training in Barbados will be tested when a local team goes up against more than 70 countries in an international skills competition. It's the first time Barbados will be competing at this level and will be represented in 4 categories. Our Sharika Griffith spoke with members of the team before they left for Abu Dhabi.
World skills for young and proud Bajans. World skills, world skills.
Tanisha Hall, Takia Jordan, and Rashida Griffith are 3 of the 4 competitors who will represent Barbados at the World Skills International Competition. As they prepared to make the long journey to Abu Dhabi, they reported feeling both a sense of pride and excitement.
I feel proud that I got the opportunity to represent Barbados, and I'm going to do my best.
For Rashida Griffith, she never imagined her decision to enter the local competition would result in her leaving Barbados for the first time.
I thought it was just a Barbados thing, but then when it was called that I have to go overseas, I was like really excited.
These young women, along with Akil Craig Brown, who is studying overseas, will represent Barbados in the areas of garment making, culinary arts, automotive technology, and hairdressing. Since winning the local World Skills competition last year, they've been hard at work improving their techniques.
Preparation was tough. Working every day, every free time I was in the salon, at school practicing, working on my detailing, everything, just making sure everything is on point.
The preparation, it went smoothly. That's the fun thing about it. I enjoy doing it, so it's like new dishes and new techniques that we learn within our preparation. So I'm going to express that at the competition.
The team will be accompanied by team leader Wendy McLean, official observer Millicent Small, and official delegate Henderson Eastman. Mr. Eastman, who is also the executive director of the TVET Council, says competition aside, this is an opportunity for Barbados to see where it stands on the world stage.
It is not just a competition. It is a world benchmark. It's a networking. It is where you see the tripartism of the world in play. Huge companies go there, sponsoring organizations, etc. And there's lots of gains. You can form partnerships with training institutions overseas. You can form partnerships with industry, and at the same time, you are raising the standards. We are checking and benchmarking our standards now, not just in the Americas, but we are benchmarking our standards in the world.
Mr. Eastman says while the team will be going for the gold, he also wants the competitors to strive for a special award.
We want gold, but there's also something called a medallion of honor. If you don't, because gold, bronze, and silver are normative, they are relative, top three. But if you get, I think it is 90%, you score 90% in your competition, you are also given a medallion of honor, and that tells you that you are operating at a very, very high level.
Once they reach Abu Dhabi, the competitors will have just a few days to settle before the competition begins. As for the game plan, it's pretty simple. Do what they do best.
My plan is to just go, prepare myself, make sure I have everything ready. When I get to the competition, it's just all me. I ain't focusing on no one else, just me.
How confident are you going into the competition?
I'm very confident, actually.
So you think then that you'll be bringing home the gold?
Yes.
World Skills Abu Dhabi will kick off with an official opening ceremony on the 14th, which will be followed by 3 days of competition from the 15th to the 18th. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks, Sharika. Well, more students appear to be understanding the value of entering competitions that can earn them prizes like money for education. This from Merlene Hercules, Secretary-Treasurer of Optimist International. She says Barbados has a history of doing well in these types of competitions and encourages students to take part.
It's not just the monetary value, but the exposure that they get. And from 2 years ago, Optimist International decided to raise our oratory contest up to an international level. So once you win in Barbados, you go on to Jamaica to district contest and you win again. You can go to a regional contest and you win. You can go to an international contest, and you can also get a lot of valuable scholarship money for that as well. And this year, our student from Antigua came second in the international contest. So we know there are possibilities and many opportunities for our students to compete and excel.
Ms. Hercules was speaking at a brief ceremony to present 19-year-old Akila Jordan Watson with a $5,000 scholarship, compliments Optimist International. Ms. Jordan Watson, a budding biochemist and first-year student in the Faculty of Science and Technology, won last year's regional leg of the Optimist Club's essay competition. The former People's Cathedral Primary and Harrison College student says she almost missed entering the competition entirely after misunderstanding one of the rules and barely getting the piece in on time.
Weeks later, with the essay far from my mind,
Mrs. Brown congratulated me on winning the local leg of the contest. I was shocked because I could not believe that an essay I wrote with a few hours left, ill and half asleep, could be able to win. A few weeks later, Mr. Carl Akwe, another teacher, congratulated me on winning the district level of the contest. So if there's anything that this experience has taught me, is that Bajan time works sometimes, but most importantly, to be optimistic in everything I do.
The jury is still out on how much of an impact the newly revealed UWI Jukes Agribusiness Development Park will have on food production in Barbados. Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor of the K-Phil campus, Professor Udine Barato, described the park as a potential hub that will drive in entrepreneurship, training and research in agribusiness. But head of the Barbados Agricultural Society, James Paul, says he's reserving judgment on the proposed facility that will see close to 30 acres of land at Jukes in St. Thomas converted into the region's first mega agribusiness center. Noting that he does not know many of the details about the project, Mr. Paul says he is most interested in how it will help to solve the issues being faced by the sector today.
It will be judged on the extent to which it is able to facilitate local food production, the extent to which local producers of food, farmers themselves, are able to benefit from the existence of the facility. We have to ensure that when we engage in projects such as these, it is one that would inspire changes, positive changes in our local agricultural production in the direction that we want to see it.
Meanwhile, the head of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture in Barbados says she fully supports the UWI Jukes Agribusiness Development Park. Speaking to CBC News just after the unveiling of the master plan for the St. Thomas site, Ina Harvey said the work at the park ties in with projects which ICA already has underway. But she's also excited about the possibilities that it will make the local agriculture sector even stronger.
ICA Barbados has been pioneering agrotourism since 2002, and the links that are possible with Latin America. If you look, for example, at the University of Buenos Aires, they teach from short courses, diploma, masters, PhDs in rural tourism, agrotourism. So University of West Indies can link with University of Buenos Aires, University in Chile, universities in Costa Rica and in Latin America, which is part of ICA's network, to really do a lot of training in agrotourism and rural tourism and really bring alive this whole investment in our communities and our rural product so that we give an authentic tourism product and give employment and generate income in our rural communities.
Take a break here, but still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region.
This year, Quartz is saying thank you to all of our shoppers. We have enjoyed serving you through the years, and we take this time to thank you for choosing us. As always at Quartz, we have you in mind with great offers, gifts, and prizes in store for you this season. For your chance to enter the Quartz Thank You Sweepstakes, just spend $799 and over.
As we look to the future, we promise to give you exceptional service and great products at the best prices.
Quartz, bringing value home.
Community Files.
Learn more about mental health in the workplace when the Psychiatric Hospital holds its health fair in the main car park on Friday, October 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Win prizes and get free samples and health checks too. For more information, contact Michelle at 536-3028 or Yvette at 536-3025.
Help support the restoration efforts for the hundreds of thousands affected by catastrophic hurricanes. Donate to the Red Cross Hurricane Relief account at any branch of the following: CIBC First Caribbean, account number 10011633436. First Citizens, 500-900-00588. RBC Royal Bank, 210-05073, and Republic Bank, 01804-153-1001. Monies raised will be sent to the International Red Cross for its restoration work for affected persons. Appeal closes 30th November 2017. Persons wishing to post checks should make these out to Red Cross Hurricane Relief Appeal account and post to Barbados Red Cross Society, P.O. Box 300 Bridgetown, or hand deliver to the Red Cross Warrens headquarters. The Barbados Red Cross and commercial banks, on behalf of the victims of catastrophic hurricanes, thank all persons and businesses for their contributions.
Dominicans in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria have been encouraged not to shy away from seeking psychological help, since there is a risk of damaging a person's psyche. Consultant psychiatrist Dr. Griffin Benjamin says Maria severely damaged the island's social infrastructure, making things different than they were. He suggests the impact has tugged at the hearts of Dominicans at home and abroad. The Ministry of Health, in response, has embarked on a program dispatching a team of counselors. Dr. Benjamin was speaking at a daily press briefing focusing on the psychosocial response to Hurricane Maria.
We want to hold meetings with your community. At those meetings, persons will be encouraged to express themselves and release the tension and the stress that they went through were inflicted on them by Hurricane Maria. The meetings will give the community leaders and the disaster managers out there a chance to give information on the ongoing relief efforts. That is the biggest operation in Dominica right now. We also want to do some more training. We believe, and we continue to invite pastors and other clergy members to attend training sessions with us at the unit or anywhere around the island that we can come, that you want us to come, we'll come.
And behavior change therapist Wendell De Leon says people are coping differently after Maria.
A lot of times right now in the shelters, there are lots of negative coping. It's people are resorting to the use of alcohol, people are resorting to the use of drugs and overuse, not just a one-time use. Because that's what, some of them looted, and that's what they do. They sit down all the night. There's no power, there's nothing to do when the night comes. That's what they're going to do. We need to urge people to be very careful. Not only we have the issue of the use of alcohol or drugs, but these people are in shelters. We have to look at the safety issue in the shelters as well. Some of those shelters are not safe for women and children because the individual who might be consuming the alcohol can then see those women and children as victims. And this is a second time again. They are already victims of Maria.
A kidney specialist in St. Lucia says the dialysis situation there remains dire. Consultant nephrologist Dr. Merle Clark was providing an update on the number of people undergoing treatment for kidney disease in St. Lucia.
Dr. Merle Clark, host of the HTS talk show Healthwise, noted that the situation has not changed significantly, primarily because there is a constant stream of new dialysis patients. She says some have died due to a number of reasons, lack of financing being the major hindrance, but new patients show up every week. However, Dr. Clark indicates that the only way to decrease this steady stream of patients is to advocate prevention of chronic kidney disease. And while it may not be easy, the consultant nephrologist says prevention is possible. And in large measure, preventing kidney disease means preventing or controlling diabetes and hypertension.
Those two pathologies, which we speak about all the time, are responsible for over 60%, almost 70% of the cases of chronic kidney disease that we see. There are other simple measures that we could take: maintaining our weight, a healthy weight, BMI under 25, between 18 and 25, so see your doctor once a year, ensure your urine is tested and that is okay, that if there's anything awry with the urine as such, that can be caught early and treated. Most times those things can be treated. There are other diseases like lupus and what we call autoimmune diseases, which can cause chronic kidney disease, but there is treatment for those, and patients don't have to end up or progress to end-stage kidney disease. Alcohol intake in moderation. Smoking decreases the flow of blood to the kidney, and that can lead to chronic kidney disease. Exercising, having a low salt diet, so basically lifestyle modification.
Dr. Clark also advises the public not to abuse over-the-counter medication and even some of the herbal supplements which have grown in popularity over the years.
The Public Utilities Commission in Guyana has received scores of complaints from consumers. Customer dissatisfaction often relates to issues ranging from the unavailability of landline services to the quality of broadband services. More now from Javon Vickery.
In a report from the Public Utilities Commission, it was stated that as of March 2017, there were more than 100 complaints to the PUC against two utility companies, the Guyana Telephone and Telegraph Company GTT and the Guyana Power and Light GPL. In Region 3, particularly Parfait Harmony and areas along the west bank of Demerara, there is still no access to broadband and landline services for housing areas that cater for thousands of families. Head of the Industry and Innovation Unit of the Ministry of Public Telecommunications, Lance Hines, while acknowledging these issues, explains that even with the liberalization of the telecommunications industry, the enforcement of the Telecommunications Act could take longer than expected.
This is the reason why we're pushing so hard for liberalization. Because as you know, a monopoly, a nicer word is that we have an exclusive licensee. So you run into these challenges in terms of areas that are not served as they should be. And one of the things that happens is that if you have a liberalized environment, because the competition is there, it then gets everybody up to be able to provide the service in every way possible because competition demands that.
He further explained that one of the weaker factors of the still prevailing monopoly is the provision of all services throughout the country, especially in the outlying regions of the coast. Minister of Public Telecommunications Catherine Hughes also noted that another factor that hinders the provision of telecommunication services in these areas is the financial feasibility.
This is where the PUC is so important, because you have to have a mechanism that still protects the interests of the citizen. And that's why I'm saying we're moving hard with this new legislation, because some of that protection is covered in the new legislation.
Sports is next with Anne-Marie Burke, but first a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.